welcome to the second episode of my podcast, Feminist Voices. This is your host, Trisha Singh. Feminist Voices is a podcast that empowers women in STEM. Join me to celebrate and amplify the voices of brilliant women making waves in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Let's break the barriers, shatter the stereotypes, and dive into the journeys, challenges, and triumphs and inspire the next generation of women in STEM together. Joining me today is Dr. Parul Verma Jain, who is an accomplished academician and researcher with over 13 years of extensive experience in teaching and education. She currently serves as an educator of biology and environmental systems and societies at Knowledgeum Academy. She holds a PhD in and MSc in genetics and a PGDHE. She has successfully completed her B.Ed degree along with an IBDP certification in biology. She has authored numerous publications, guided students in research projects, and is an active participant in academic events. Dr. Parul's dedication to education and research makes her a valuable asset in this field. Ma'am, I'm incredibly excited to have you on my podcast today to share your wisdom and knowledge about this field.
Thank you, Trisha, and thank you for that wonderful introduction. I wish you all the best with your this podcast endeavor.
Thank you, ma'am. Without further ado, let's dive into the question. What initially sparked your interest in the field of genetics?
Well, in my times, the education about DNA started in somewhere around 8th or 10th standard, and I really got intrigued that a single molecule can control your life. That
Right.
what's got me stuck to this subject. 2 years later, I found, oh no, it's not the only factor. The environment also plays the role. And since then, it has been a constant journey of discoveries, interest, and many, many new things in this amazing field of genetics. It will never fail to amaze you, excite you, and motivate you.
Right, absolutely. It's pretty fascinating how a small spark ignited a lifelong passion and took you on such a long journey.
Yeah. You always need to be constantly motivated to pursue this field, and this field would give you many chances to feel that motivation and keep the spark alive.
So, what kept you motivated throughout the journey?
See, it was always when you are pursuing a field which is academically changing very fast, you need to keep up with the changing scenarios. To keep up with the changing scenarios, you need to constantly read, update yourself, if you have to stay competitive. So what kept me motivated was one success was just a miles, one step in a ladder, but to climb the entire ladder of the success, one step at a time, you need to just keep on climbing that one step at a time constantly.
Absolutely, ma'am. That's pretty inspiring. Ma'am,
Mm.
so moving on to the next question. Could you
Yes.
highlight one of your most memorable research projects or discoveries?
See, it is always for me, the first step was my PhD, and the problem excited me a lot. It is very obvious because you have to work on that problem for remaining for at least 4 to 6 years to come. And it was a very nice mix of how DNA and environment interacts. To keep your audience updated, my PhD problem was sex determination in Carica papaya. Obviously, I'm talking about way back in 2010. The first thing that amazed me in the problem was that the sex determination is in papaya, unlike humans, which is chromosomal, is allelic. That is, it is just a part of a chromosome. And this chromosome, the way it interacts with the environment, results in either it being a male, female, or an hermaphrodite, having both the sexes. And economically, only female power plants are important. So, you know, farmer in our labor cost and keeping everything in mind, a farmer has to ensure that the seedling it has taken or germinated should be female. So my problem was that only to find the molecular markers which help you to analyze early that the plant is grow up to be a female. So that was the thing that was my most amazing research project. And way back in 2010, molecular markers were known to very few people. So I was one of the fortunate to work on this problem, not for one, two, but whole full 4 to 6 years.
Wow. I mean, working on a project for such a long time is a big thing. I'm pretty sure the project was interesting. Pretty sure. It sounds interesting.
Well, as you'll go, you'll find out more about it.
Yes, for sure. Now, so moving on to the next question. As you know, our flora and fauna are depleting day by day. So, according to you, how can genetic technologies be used in the conservation efforts to protect endangered species and preserve biodiversity?
See, conservation of flora and fauna is not a one step or a one dimension process. It starts with first identifying which species are endangered or they are on verge of extinction. Then secondly, it comes what are the factors, identifying the factors which lead to which are leading or contributing to their extinction or endangerment. And the third step comes to what is the most efficient strategy to conserve them. And genetics is one field which helps you in every step. Now, with the advancement of the technology, molecular gene technology, we make a valuable contribution at every step, whether it is identifying the species which are getting endangered or their uh, finding out ways how to conserve them. So, first is when you think that a species is getting endangered, see what is its reproductive rate, what is its spread rate. Once you have identified, then do some genomic studies. And finally, if it is a plant, build up a seed bank, or if it is an animal, then build up a gene pool or a library, which will protect it even if very few number of species are left of that plant. So genetics is one field which will help you in every step in conserving flora and fauna endangered or on the verge of extinction.
Got it. Got it. Yes, ma'am. As a woman in STEM, what challenges have you faced and how have you overcome them?
See, the challenges are first, you need to find good mentors, which will guide
Yeah,
you throughout the way. Second is being a woman and practicing this field in India, we still have to face a lot of gender stereotypes, and very few women are given leadership roles. You have to constantly prove yourself in this field. And this is a field which would require not only personal, professional, but also academic orientation. So, all these are just a few of the problems that I faced. The important thing is always keep yourself constantly motivated and competitive. And the most important factor I find is that you should make a proper balance between your personal and professional career as well as health, because you need to be top in every aspect, whether it is personal, professional, or academic. But the most important factor is you have to like what you do. It should make you happy. If it doesn't make you happy and you don't like it, you won't be able to pursue it for a long time.
absolutely. I mean, it's pretty amazing how you stuck to biology and genetics, although you had to experience so many challenges. So I think everybody needs a dedication in them, and the dedication will only come if you really love the subject that you're pursuing.
Yes.
Now, what advice would you give to the young women interested in pursuing a career in science, particularly in genetics?
See, genetics is something which is always in talks now. But when I started to pursue this field, it was a time of biotechnology boom. And I was doing something which was being followed by very few people at that time. But I had this vision that it would become the talk of the town in coming 4 or 5 years. So I would start with saying that always follow your heart. It is not necessary that you should follow everything which is going on which is trendy, what we call as that trendy. You should feel happy because, as I told in the previous question, also answering your previous question, it is a very demanding field. It would demand personal commitments, professional commitments, and most importantly, lifelong academic involvement. So, for that, always keep a healthy balance between your mental, physical wellness and the demands of the career. And that you would be able to do only if it is something which you genuinely like. Because you have to stay competitive and motivated throughout your life, not just initial part of the career, because this is a ever evolving field.
I think you were pretty right about the trendy term which you used because, like, now also, I mean, if I'm a little confused about my career, I'm told by my parents to go for, something which is trending. Like now, biotechnology is trending. So I was going to, opt for that
This
opportunity, that
was
option.
the same thing which my father told. Why you are not pursuing your master's in biotechnology? That is the upcoming field. And we
Yeah.
literally had a very, as of now, I would call it a very serious discussion. But your audience are quite educated. They would understand the pun behind it. But I knew that my heart was in it. And this is a field in which I'm still studying. I am still doing degrees and I'm still reading papers every day, still keeping me updated. All those things you won't be able to do until and unless you have passion, and passion that is arising from your heart. So I would always advise young women like you, young ladies like you, to follow your heart and not what is trendy or what is being advocated by your parents. You
Correct.
won't
That's
be able
lovely
to
advice.
follow it.
Correct, correct. I mean, at the end of the day, it's us who have to study, right? Not our parents. They have already gotten their degrees. So, absolutely.
They're already at an established and a settled career. You have to
Correct, correct.
carve your niche in a place which is already a competitive field.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, what are some common misconceptions that people have about genetics and how can this be clarified?
See, people say that genetics is all about fate. Now that you have a DNA like this, you cannot change.
Okay,
This is a very, very common misconception that is very prevalent in the field. But one field, one aspect of it which I would like to bring into light is you have often seen very thin people growing into very strong muscular things, true, muscular
right.
beings. Yes, although their
Yeah,
metabolic rates don't favor this, but still they keep on trying, they keep on, struggling to get there, and eventually they get there. So
correct.
genetics is nothing about fate. Even now, the latest thing that we are doing is we are trying to fight cancer genetically, and we have succeeded to a quite an extent when we identify the cancer mutation and treat it accordingly. Now you have seen more and more survivors in stage 3 and stage 4 of cancer. So it is
Right.
never about fate that you have got these kind of genetics. You have born with it, so you cannot change it. So this is a very common misconception. You can do anything with the proper guidance and understanding the root cause of your problem and working on it continuously.
I mean, now also, like, if somebody is short, they mostly blame it on their parents that, because of my genes, I'm short. But I think if you actually work out and work hard, then you would be able to increase your height and alter your genes that way.
Obviously, because genetics is all about how your DNA interacts with the environment and how persistent you are in your practice. So you can definitely do it. You can make improvements in your posture, you can exercise, you can take proper diet. And okay, you won't be the tallest person in the world, but you would increase your height to a significant level.
Right, absolutely. Right. Now, what are some upcoming challenges or opportunities you see in the field of genetics?
In the field of genetics, the field is ever changing, and we are, I think, if you see, for last at least 10 to 30 years, the new Nobel Prizes have come in this field only. And now with the corona and CRISPR technology, the field has immense opportunities to offer. We have moved we have come a long way from just simply completing human genome project to now having quite having fields like genomic imprinting, next generation sequencing, uh, even barcoding. All these are just latest upcoming fields in genetics. Young researcher can pursue a very good career in any of this field. Even genetics is now coming up in bioinformatics with the proteomics and genomics. So you can, if you are interested in maths and if want to be an engineer, you can have an hybrid career in these fields, which is
Wow.
very known to very few people. And I also want to tell you that please just don't go with the this misconception that if you have taken genetics or for that matter any career in biology, the line ends at being a medical practitioner. No, there are number of fields even in medical also which is not just being a doctor. For example, being an embryologist, be a geneticist in a lab, being a microbiologist, which is which helps or aids in medical field, but you don't have to be a medical practitioner for that. I'm not using the term doctor deliberately because a PhD is also a doctor. So go ahead
I know,
and pursue PhDs.
I know many people who still think that way, that basically if you take bio, then you will go into the medical field only, and particularly being a doctor, medical practitioner.
Hmm.
So yeah, that's also a common misconception till today. Yeah. Now,
Mm.
looking back at your academic journey, what advice would you give to your younger self as you were starting out in the field of genetics?
To my younger self, I would always advise that, see, nowadays we are not talking about citizen of a country, we are talking about global citizenship.
Yeah,
Please be constantly aware of what is happening in your field. Once you have identified that, okay, this is my interest, then don't restrict to a particular place or a particular institute for guidance and mentorship. Follow it, explore it, and travel with it. With me, I was just fascinated with not leaving my hometown. But I should have moved from that place to pursue the further studies in a separate area or a separate zone of comfort. Please leave your zone of comfort and go to a place where which is actually blooming in the area where you want to pursue more in terms of studies, more in terms of career.
right, right. I think that is a pretty valuable advice given by you. So, because you have to step out of your comfort zone if you actually want to pursue something in life. So, yeah. Ma'am, also now coming to my favorite question. If you had the opportunity to redo your PhD and studies again, would you choose the same field of study or would you choose a different field of study and why?
I would choose the same field. I just told you there are
No.
so many areas to explore which I didn't do, and I still regret that why didn't I do my postdoctoral studies in the same this thing field, because it is an amazing field. And again, emphasizing my point which I made earlier, it is a constantly evolving field. I have, in a way, I have never stopped being a student. I'm still a student of this
Wow.
field. Many more things to pursue, many more things to see. I would love to see that how drug designing, the field of drug designing, is affected by this genetics field. Very a dream come true would be when you can do gene therapy with a pill. As of now, we have seen pills growing on plants, edible vaccines. So I would also probably like to see that how chemotherapy can be done with a pill, and it is so directed that it just affects the particular gene in question, because otherwise the chemotherapy patients are quite a sufferers because it affects their normal cells also. So that is one field that amazes me. And if we can do it or deliver a pill rather than such a painful experience to the patient, that is the one thing I would love to explore.
It's wonderful to see your dedication towards biology and genetics. Definitely.
Obviously, it
Uh,
has been a childhood dream, and now it has continued till almost, I think, I have been what? It's been 2 decades since I have been a follower of this field, and I still think that I haven't achieved much. There is a long,
oh,
long way to go.
yes, ma'am. Now it's time to buckle our seatbelts because we are about to speed through some rapid fire questions. Mendel's laws or Punnett squares?
See, Mendel laws are the principles that guide the Punnett square. Until and unless you know the principle, you cannot move to Punnett square. So definitely Mendel's laws, but both are important in the field of genetics. You need to be educated in both to do well.
Nature or nurture?
This has been a debate since the time of Jesus Christ.
Yes,
But
that's what I
both
feel.
of them are quite interrelated. A nurture cannot be a good nurture until and unless he or she or a particular field has a good knowledge of nature. And nature would require a good nurture to develop a personality. So it's like you have to choose both. Although I love that nature.
Okay, nature. One word or a phrase to describe your academic expedition.
Exploration. It is always explore.
Yes.
Never be
Genomic,
biased. Always explore without a bias.
wonderful. Genomic imprinting or genetic linkage.
First, I always tell my students first get your basics in place because it is always the basics which would lead you to more complex. So, sex linkage between genes first, then going to genomic imprinting.
Neutral theory or selection theory.
Okay, tell me if you pursue a career, wouldn't like you like to be selected then to be neutral?
Yes,
Or selection theory because that this is natural selection. Nature also selects the best.
right. Correct. Ma'am, so with this second episode of Feminist Voices comes to an end. I would like to express my gratitude to Dr. Palu Jain for taking our time to provide us with so many valuable insights. Thank you so much, ma'am, for joining us today. Last but not the
Thank you, Trishna, for having me on your show. I wish it all the best. You're doing something very nice and noble for the upcoming students like you, female students like you. I wish you all the best for a bright future ahead.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Last but not the least, I would like to thank all my listeners for tuning in. If you like this episode, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to my podcast. Thank you.